national security space arena, including the National Reconnaissance Office, National Security Space Architect. Okay, the NRO, National Reconnaissance Office, keep in mind, was itself a secret, completely secret.
Sacón joined programs with an organization of Aeronautics-Space. $47,000. 88 locations. Oh my God, this is a lot of freaking people. Satellite, but no, I mean, those reptilian son of a bitches don't need no satellite. They use resonance, magnetic resonance, electromagnetism. They can pinpoint anything, anyone, 1 trillion miles away or farther, or in hyperspace or subspace. Either one is the same thing. These people can penetrate the solid ground, creating plasma tunnels or quantum tunnels, you name it.
Secret agency for about 30 years. No one knew it existed. It's got a very strong interest in space, obviously. The U.S. has its own history of secret organizations that have existed within the government without people knowing. NRO, the NSA, the National Security Agency, are two prime examples. So in other words, secrecy, big agencies being secret, actually has a long proven history in the national security state. There's no reason, none, really, when you think about it, why that shouldn't be the case today with a military space component. Or military space program. We have these known ones, and I think there very well could be areas of this that are not known to us. Now, let me just switch gears a little bit. Something exists that is not supposed to exist. We all know what that is. This is about a 1-minute little slideshow. I just want you to take a look at some of these images of UFOs from the 40s right up into our own era. Most of these are familiar to researchers who've been in the game for a while. That's the Heflin photograph of 65, Utah 1966, Japan 78, and so on. That's an Iranian shot from 76, another Iranian shot, 78, excuse me, 1981, Hudson Valley. There's a space shot. That's an interesting one in my opinion.
What? I missed all that.
There very well could be areas of this that are not known to us. Now, let me just switch gears a little bit.
Something exists, yeah, reptilian.
Something exists that is not supposed to exist. We all know what that is. This is about a 1-minute little slideshow.
No, there's no 1 minute. This shit is constant. You just don't know that, or what? Oh man, these are vehicles. But what's behind around that is reptilian faces. Look, there's hundreds of faces there. It's like they're, look at the eyes right there. I mean, you have to be blind not to see all those faces. They're the same. They're all looking like this is a theater. And this is like a transparent, anything that creates electromagnetic. Look, this is a smaller vehicle there, so I don't think this is terrestrial. You should know better than that when you see this background deal with reptile-looking faces, dinosaur-style faces, triangular shape, one eye here, one eye there, the same necks, on these rows and rows and rows, like they are sitting in a theater watching the show. He's right, it's a show, but not the show that you want to be in, except that we are in no matter what. This is their show and we are the puppets.
I just want you to take a look at some of these images of UFOs
All
from the
images,
40s, right?
all UFO images, which are reptilian orbs.
Up into our own era. Most of these are familiar to research.
Look at this deal. I mean, the weirdest forms, some in Norway that are like impossible to describe. These objects are so bizarre. And that's why I know they're not terrestrially made. These people make vehicles, but they cannot perform and do things that these do.
Researchers have been in the game for a while. That's the Heflin photograph of 65, Utah 1966, Japan 78, and so on. That's an Iranian shot from...
Look at that. The two windows here, but it's a reptile head in the same.
76, another Iranian shot. 78, excuse me.
Look at the reptile heads. Wherever any of those appear, the whole entire area becomes reptilianized. It's like they open the curtains and say, pam, 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 it's a volcano. But what you see, the reptile eyes on the same mountain. The mountain becomes a reptilian, whatever, everything. That's the common denominator. Look at this rock here with two big ass eyes and malevolent look. There's two right here with the same characteristic, all of them. Something that people say, oh, but you're seeing things on clouds and yeah, and the ground and everywhere and every time, every single picture of UFO, the same thing. Shit. Look at these two eyes with a pair of horns, or I don't know what that is, and the snout. They look almost cartoonish, and you see a reptile eye right here with vertical pupil. And the same thing, look, the eyebrow with a reptile eye, another one here, and they look really malevolent. This is the biggest, with a vehicle here that looks almost like a bullet, a spent casing of a bullet. In Iran. And then you see the craft above, it's supposed to be craft. Probably is a craft, but it's not what you think.
1981, Hudson Valley. There's a space shot. That's an interesting one in my opinion. 1988, Hudson Valley, Gulf Breeze. Yes, I supported Gulf Breeze in my last book on UFOs. Area 51.
Oh, what was Area 51? I missed that one. It's going too quick.
Hudson Valley. There's a space shot. That's an interesting one in my opinion. 1988, Hudson Valley, Gulf Breeze. Yes, I supported Gulf Breeze in my last book on UFOs. Area 50.
We got one in Area 51. It looks like the sport model coming from hyperdimension, but what you see in the background is a bunch of eyes, reptilian shit. I mean, this camera is seeing it all. Let's see if I can pinpoint to whoever's watching this video. Look at this face right here. Left eye, right eye, triangular shape. There's another right eye, left eye here. Another pair of eyes here. Another bigger one here, then this one here, then another one here, even bigger. Then you got this big one that is like one gigantic ass face. Left eye, right eye. See, they always have these two triangles put together, pan, pan, and the open part of the triangles, and you see the same thing here. In fact, this is an hexagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 eyes. 2 hexagons, the eyes. Then 2 more right here. You got the eye. Right eye, left eye. And you see tens of faces all over the place. You study the image, you will just conclude the same thing I do. We are in a reptilian deal. This is all reptilian. I mean, you can know.
One.
Look at this weird shit from Russia. I think I've seen this one before. Look how deformed and that is like a reptile head with an arm and another arm, and then there is another head here. There is another one down here that has 2 eyes here, then 2 eyes here, looking that way. And that's what whatever that is, I don't think it's a vehicle, it's just a deformed. And then a little orb here that looks almost like a teardrop shape. Oh, this is the famous Nellies. Now I know what that is. That was not an American made anything. That is reptilian made. The Nellies, oh, I see. Oh my goodness, that's the most incredible one I ever seen, ever. How it changed shape from a hat-looking deal, it looked like a saucer, into these 4 balls, and it looked like it's alive. That thing is just bouncing like it's an octopus with the arms rolled in. Oh my God, this is amazing. I haven't seen this in a while, but this is the most, now I understand what it is. A bunch of reptile heads wrapped up. And in the original one I didn't see, but this is a little orb right behind it. Nellies. That's the Nellies. And who is this? Wow. Oh, that's the next picture.
Great shot there.
What is it? Oh, okay. There's that saucer behind her. And look at the reptile face right next to her or behind her. That's something he didn't see. This big ass reptile, dinosaur looking thing. Left eye, right eye. He did not see that. I cannot believe it. Look at that. That's the common denominator in every single image, and these people still doesn't know it. Amazing. I got it right down, this guy's name. I'm gonna tell him what he's missing in his work at 10:40. 10 minutes, 40 seconds in this picture. Look at that big ass dinosaur looking entity back there. In fact, it's this big one, and next one is a smaller one right next to it, and a smaller one in front of it. It's 3 of them. And there's a bigger one right here, and another. It's all over, more faces. The pasture is filled with faces. Only recently is that I noticed that from the past 5 months, 6 months, that I started to see the same pattern every single
On UFOs.
sighting.
Area 51.
The Nellies. If I had a clear image of this, I bet you I'll see the same pattern. In fact, I can see the outlines of a face, which really, the guy at the beginning say when this image in 1993 was shown, he said that this was, or 94, this was the magnetic field around the craft. Well, now I know it's an hexagon. It's an electromagnetic field projected by the reptilian craft. So now I know too that hexagons is sacred geometry. Look at the craft, and look at the entities in the field behind her.
Great shot there.
Look at that. The entire field. If she only knew what's behind her, she would shit. It's all over the trees, the entire background is filled with faces of reptilian deals. There's two trees, look like two dinosaurs. The left eye, right eye, all of them have dinosaur heads. Look at that shit. Just like New Orleans. When I saw the New Orleans deal, that's when I understood the whole nature of the thing. They're all around us, and we are in their domain.
Yeah. A lot of those people taking pictures of their family and saying, what's that? Australia, 2004. Hungary, I believe. New York State, I don't believe that's a mosquito. And there we go.
Oh my goodness, look at that cylindrical object. Electromagnetic vehicle, EMV. As Dr. Bergrum discovered that they are exactly like he said they would be. There's the mustache right here and the back of the craft. Then you see this configuration. It look also like a couple of eyes, pair of eyes. Two here and two here. It's all reptilian, nothing else. It's sound repetition, but that's what that is.
Okay, so that's something we all know is UFOs. There's something that's here that's not supposed to be here. I got into this business almost 20 years ago now
Identify reptilian objects.
through the lens of looking at military documents. That was always my first and most important focus. It still, to me, is the foundation. When I speak to anyone who's really skeptical about UFOs, and there's a lot of folks like that, I don't try to convince them of anything other than the fact that our military has a proven deep interest in this. And in fact, there are a number of very, very compelling documents that prove that not only is the military interested in this, but that our jets have chased these things, which have outperformed our jets time and again, and not just American jets, but, jets of other nations as well, but certainly the U.S. component of this is huge. These are some of the key documents. I've at other times spoken about them at great length. A couple of years ago, I put together an article that I still think is useful. I call it 12 Documents Proving U.S. Government Interest in UFOs. You can see that at my website. That's Keyhole Publishing. And I would recommend it to you if you are on the fence or want to be convinced that there is an important thing going on that is well documented. This does not prove that UFOs are ET or that they're anything other than something extraordinary that needs explaining. But to me, that's a good place to start. Now let's move on. So we've got military interest in space. That has to be. The U.S. military structure cannot not be interested in control over space. We have a UFO phenomenon that has engaged that military for over 60 years, for sure. We know that that is true. So now what about space? Well, the fact is that it took me a long time to ease myself into this, but there are oddities in space.
Oh, shit.
You might say they're oddities, or you might say that they are possible motivations for a secret space program. In other words, if you've got strange things happening in the atmosphere in your theater of operations, you might want to check it out. That might be an important part of what you do. After all, we know in the, we know that regarding U.S. air bases in the 1940s and 50s and 60s, when there were violations of the airspace there, we know for sure that this was a matter of concern to the military authorities. And so it would stand to reason if you've got anomalous activity in Earth's atmosphere, the same rule would apply. There would be an interest in investigating and finding out what's going on, but you wouldn't want to do it with the whole world watching you. So when you talk about these anomalies, keep that in mind. And there are a number of these I am going to show you, and it's not really going to take an awful lot of time. And only a few of the STS missions I've really selected for this. This is one from STS-96, just 1999, a little over a decade ago. And let's follow this. Now, the big flashing things in the center are thunderstorms, and that goes on over the Earth all the time. The items of interest, of course, are in the top right to your point of view. This object right there.
That's what they
these objects
electrical storm.
Moving, kind of creeping along. Flashing object below. I don't know what these things are.
Oh, I do.
But from my perspective, they are very odd, and I think I have a hard time understanding these as debris ejected from the shuttle. And we know that debris is ejected from the shuttle and can be mistaken for all kinds of things, and so I wouldn't want to minimize that, but this looks very odd. Now this goes on a little bit, and I don't really feel a need to stay on there too long. There's another one I want to show you. Same mission. You have a fast streaking object, and you have a second object that slows down quite noticeably. Let's take a look. You can see it a few times. There's the fast object. There's the second one.
Fast.
And we'll show that again.
We're doing it in slow motion, that sucker. Look at that shit. 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Now this is the same one, but slowed down by about 50%.
What? 50% and that thing wasn't even visible.
These videos, incidentally, were collected and put up on the web by the late Jeff Challenger, who lived in Sacramento for most of his life. I met Jeff one time. I was a big fan of him. I was very glad I got to meet him before he died in 2007. I'm betting that a couple of his friends are here. He died, and shortly before he passed away, for whatever odd reason, I decided that I wanted to do a complete download of his massive website. I considered it very important. The next thing I know, and I mean 2 days later, I'm not kidding, I learned that he had died. There's a crazy coincidence for you. His old site stayed up for about a year after that, but then that was gone. And I, at a point shortly after that, asked his widow if it would be fine for me to put a mirror of his site up on my own site at Keyhole Publishing, which I've now been able to do. So you can see these videos. Now here's one from the same mission, STS-96. What you'll see are two objects moving perpendicular to each other. This is over New Orleans. There's it coming up, and then horizontal. Resolution's not the best, I apologize, but you can see this pretty clearly. Here it is again, slowed down. Again, it seems odd to me. What you find in a number of these cases, as well, is that the people operating the cameras are very interested in following these debris, if that's what they are. Here's one from another mission, a year later, 2000, STS-106. What you'll see, it's hardest to see in the first take of this. It's actually easier to see when it's sped up. But you'll see a series of objects in a kind of triangular formation moving. Now, the U.S. Navy has NOS satellite data, NOS triplets, which is 3 satellites that orbit in triangular formation. Their orbit is above that of the space shuttle. So that, I think, can be ruled out. As debris, it seems odd, or seems difficult to explain it since they move in a clear formation with each other, but independently of each other. The sun had not risen, so reflection seems to be a difficult explanation too. So you'll see them. There they are. These are not proof that these things are being piloted by ETs. That's not my point here. It's simply to indicate that it looks like there is activity, sophisticated activity, going on in our atmosphere that maybe some of us would like to know about. Let me show this now faster. You'll really see it a little more clearly. There it is. I think it's not too hard to miss. Now here's one that's got some sound. You'll hear a commentator on this. This is funny. You'll see why.
Approaching that sunrise as it approaches the Great Lakes area.
Zoom in.
This
Say it.
a view of Chicago and also some
Come on now.
ice crystals or other items being illuminated by the rising sun. Atlantis moving into sunrise. In just about the next minute or so, as that occurs, ice crystals or water that's been dumped overboard from the shuttle is always illuminated in the close vicinity of the spacecraft. Again, that view of Chicago, though, and the shore of Lake Michigan.
Yeah, Chicago. That's a great view. Here's a zoom in on this object. Just take a good look at this here. It's very, very regular kind of pulsing. Now, I mean, there are images. You can see ice crystals. The images that I've seen of ice crystals in space, they don't pulse this brightly. And plus, the sun had not risen. I don't see how it's valid to say that this is a reflection when it was still in the dark on the before the sun had risen. Now, here's to me the most interesting of all that I've seen. This is STS-114 from 2005, and what you're going to see is an object doing a U-turn, an apparent U-turn in Earth orbit. Take a look at this. And it'll actually slow down and stop for a moment.
And return to the right.
There's some other activity
Oh
there.
my
You
God,
see
it
it
was
now.
one
It's
so
coming
quick
back.
that it was just a flash. Shoot!
One thing I didn't show you,
Oh, you got to see that one, the flash, just boom, so quick that it was just a flash line.
for a moment.
There, did you see that? Oh my God, that was like a laser or lightning, but it did a curvature. But look at all the structures. Look at all the, my goodness, what an amount of structures. And look, you got a reptile head. That's a reptile, bunch of heads. You see the two eyes on each of those black dots, the eyes. That's the thing that these guys don't understand apparently. How can he be still questioning what these things are? Look at their eyes. It's a freaking reptile. Right eye, left eye, snout, triangular shape, and it's squarish, it's not round. Same with this one. It has a triangular shape. This one appears to have two humps, or horns, or whatever. But you can see the eyes in the blackness, faces. Look at the nose and everything, the same shit. Look at that, there's a reptile image right here. Dinosaur looking thing. And another one here, and I don't know where this guy has been all this time. In 10 years I found out more than I would ever imagine in my whole life. But it only took me 10 years. In fact, what I learned in the past year, 2 years, really. After Remakers of Saturn by Dr. Norman Berger. Look at this dinosaur head right here. And he had two nostrils in the snout. And look at the eyes. Left eye, right eye. Look at this big face. I don't know how this guy can miss all of that. He must not be paying attention to the whole deal. This object is gonna appear right here. Look at all these objects. There are structures. Those are no objects. Those are structures. You can see the whole. I mean, look at this structure right here next to this. The one that he think is going here and then coming back. These are structures. The matrix of space. And that's what this is. Look at the reptile eye right there, the pupil, the other eye. I don't know how this guy cannot see all of that. I guess he hasn't paid attention at all. Gee. Look how this object is moving in the background, and it's gonna, a lightning looking thing is gonna happen. And look at these eyes here, this face. It's a reptile, my God. It's crystal clear right there. Look at that thing. Right there. I mean, how can you miss that? I don't understand this guy, what they call research, not doing their homework. This whole shit is structures. That's what NASA knows, and they don't want to tell us a damn thing, and they're not going to tell us nothing. Because people cannot handle this deal. Are you telling we're living inside a reptilian soup? No, you're crazy. You see that thing, how fast it went?
Actually, slow down and stop for a moment